Hello everybody. On this week's show we are giving away a prize so big it could be called giant. From Loke BattleMats we are giving away not just the big book but also the giant book of Cyberpunk BattleMats. Over 120 pages of mats for you to play out your RPGs and skirmish games. What's more, we're not giving away one pair, we're giving away 5 pairs. To be in with a chance to win, you need to pop a comment below, be a subscriber to the channel, share it around on social media if you can, and we'll see you in the comments. Now sit back and relax, for we've a big week of gaming news. The weekend starts here. Hello everyone, it's great to be back for another weekly look at the world of gaming. I'm joined this week by the delightful Free and Justin.
Hello.
As myself and Ben have chased the brothers Johnston off again.
We have.
Well done us.
We've scared them into the fields.
Yeah.
They haven't got their clothes on, and I've got a pitchfork, and I will hunt them down at some point.
Hang on, have you literally just secretly signed them up for Naked and Afraid?
Yes, I
That
have.
would be a hilarious episode.
Would pay to watch that, yeah.
And I am hunting the greatest prey, Johnson.
Johnson.
Johnson and Johnson? Oh wait, no, that's the other thing.
So before we delve into our whole slew of gaming goodness, first off, we have a big competition, a giant competition. Big and a giant competition, because we are giving away 5 pairs of Loke BattleMat books.
Mm-hmm.
And these have to be seen to be believed. So what we have is 120 pages plus of sci-fi or cyberpunk gridded goodness. We're giving away the big book and the giant book of BattleMats, and they are not the same, although they are very, very similar. Yeah. So if people haven't seen these before, look to a whole range of battle mats for RPGs and skirmish games. And they do them from very, very small to very, very giant. But they're all 1-inch grids, which means you can actually put books together and end up having sort of larger constructs, because the big book is an A4, the giant book is an A3, so you can actually use the fact that there are all of these, let's have a wee look, see, all of these various types of mats, from very plain to internals and bars and even dirt tracks, if you fancy about Gaslands.
If anyone is curious, I've actually unboxed this.
We have.
Well, technically unbooked it.
So there'll be a link down in the description below for that if you want to go and check it out. But yeah, these are really cool. I love these, especially for diving into something like Cyberpunk Red at the moment. Everyone's been trying that out. So does that guy, apparently, outside who beats on. But I also think these would be pretty nice for some skirmish game stuff as well, actually, especially the big A3 ones. I think they'd be really nice for small sort of encounters. Maybe if you're playing something like the new Combat Zone game and stuff by Monster Fight Club and things.
Yep.
So.
See, if you do any like sci-fi or cyberpunk like dungeon crawlers, this would be a great one.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, when you say giant, how giant is giant?
A2. Or no, A3, sorry.
That's A3, but it's A3 one side. So when you double it up and they are double page spreads, it increases it. And likewise, the A4 means you can also double it up to essentially A3 size.
You could do a chase scene through the blasted wastes outside Night City or something.
Yeah, so cool. I mean, there's a lot going on in both of them, and the smaller books are variations on the larger. So if I grab that there, you might be able to see some of these. Maybe not, actually, but you never know your luck.
Try your luck. Try it.
So, for example, we have a figure of 8 on the big A3, but here we just have like a NASCAR oval. There's obviously a couple of blanks for you to fill in whatever you want, and they're all dry wipe erasable.
Yes.
Overhead projector pens for old people like me. You can use your overhead.
I still remember those from school.
They had them when I was there.
Yep. So use your pens on this, and you can brush them off when you're done with. But yeah, so you can combine them together to give yourself street layouts, there's a big freeway. If you want to do your freeway chase a la, what was I going to say? That Matrix film.
Mm-hmm.
I had to think to remember. There is a
Matrix Reloaded.
film.
Matrix Reloaded.
Sure.
Why not?
That had a
One of
highway in
those.
it. Or you could do like Final Fantasy VII when you're running away from Shinra HQ at the end and stuff like that.
All of those. So, yeah, if you want a chance to win one of those 5 pairs of books, then you've already been told. Stick a comment below and subscribe to the channel and share us about.
Mm-hmm.
Tell everybody. Tell your friends.
Hello.
Tell your nan, as someone on YouTube says in their videos.
And can you subscribe to them? You might win me a prize.
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Yeah, just go ahead and create accounts for all your friends and family on the YouTubes.
Then you'll
sign
never
them
have
up
to
for it.
actually see them in real life ever again because you can just use your digital family instead. So there you go.
Exactly.
Better.
Is that sad? I don't know.
Everything is better.
I mean, like after a year of not really seeing family at all, I wouldn't mind seeing them.
I have to confess, lockdown hasn't really made a huge difference to me, with the exception of my barman sending me pictures of a pint from an empty pub every couple of months just to remind me. That's the biggest impact. I mean, family, I have no idea. They may have all been wiped out by the virus. I don't know.
I mean, generally for family, it's what is it? It's birth, death, marriages. You'll see them.
Yeah.
That's
So you
the
could
one.
have your family, or you could have a giant battle mat.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer there, really, isn't it?
It's the saw choice.
Yeah. So, on that delightful note, moving away from gridded and moving to hex type maps.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Free's
You've perked
been-
up the ears
yeah.
of many a historical gamer now.
Free's been delving into the world of indie board game designers.
You
And
guys.
Who have you found us?
You guys have really inspired me. Okay, you've inspired me. So we've been talking about the Battle of Clontarf the other week, and you got me thinking about how I could create a board game interpretation defining the role of Vikings in Irish affairs. So especially how House of Water did so well translating the bit into a card game, it made me think of like indie board game publishers that would be able to do this an absolute justice, which brings me to the special indie of the week. Yes, okay, I do understand it is a board game publisher. I've got the choice. My choice this week. But I don't want to take you all too far out of the comfort zone, so I won't be taking you all into the realms of fluffy sheep and fantastical universes. Not yet anyway.
That's coming next week.
It's getting there. But I'm keeping theme with the publisher Revolution Games. So these guys are a producer of historical board war games, and they're based in the US with a continuous flow of successful historical board games that they've produced over the years. So they're covering historical, iconic war-ridden events, ranging from the Battle of Hastings, the Battle of Arras, and even simulating naval battles as well, such as the battle from Guadalcanal in 1942. So
Awesome.
they've got a lot going on, and they've even just released a new one this month actually, and it takes a look at the Deadly Woods, which is a campaign game for 1 to 2 players. So this is new title puts players into the action of the Battle of the Bulge in between December, I think it's around about mid-December to mid-January. In 1945, and uses a chip pool system, unlike most historical war games. So I'm finding the hybrid here for you guys, which is why I didn't want to take you too far away from the war games that I know you all do love, and show you some how this is incorporated into board games as well. So
I'm a big fan of these. There's a couple of people I follow on YouTube. I don't play any myself, but there's a couple of friends who play various games from a couple of big companies, and they are fascinating to watch because you're not playing squad or platoon level. You're worried about whole armies and divisions and what happens to them. Well, depending on the game in question, they may be slightly smaller, but when you're having to move hundreds upon thousands of men and machines around on a map, it becomes a much more overarching affair, and you're not having to worry about small losses, but big losses can all of a sudden sort of steamroller you. And I really like the idea of, I don't quite like the idea of the Battle of the Bulge anyway, because it always amuses me that 5 years after the Germans ploughed through the Ardennes, who would have thought that they would once again plough through the Ardennes? Apparently it came as a bit of a surprise to the Allies, despite exactly how that, they entered France that way to begin with. Why did they not think this was going to possibly be a problem for them in the long run?
Massive defensive wall. You didn't finish that. I'm going around the end.
That's why the Low Countries exist. But yeah, it's mostly hex counter games then.
Yeah, so it is mostly hex counter games, and what I find really interesting about it is they honestly, this blew my mind. They offer their games in Ziploc editions, guys. Ziploc. So what does that mean? It's exactly what it says in the tin. So for a fraction of the price, you can play the game from a baggie. A Ziploc, a baggie. So you're still going to get hold of the map sheets, the counters, the rules. Yeah. However, you don't get the game in a fancy little box to store on your shelf, and you've got to provide your own dice. But I think it's a really nice option to have. And as you're all predominantly wargamers, I do not feel like I need to warn you before you get into a mammoth of campaign, because you're already prepared for that. Most wargamers, I do need to say, by the way, this is going to take some time, but a great insight into these board games is before you commit to the all-out war, literally, some of the games provided on the website offers you examples of how you can play too. So the new game, for example, you can have a look at how to play it. And before you commit to buying the box, or in this case, commit to buying the bag. If you really
having the baggie option is very good, because they don't take up a huge amount of space. These board games, they're sort of slightly bigger than A4, and then generally sort of 5-6 centimeters depth. But once you've got a few of them on a shelf, that's taking up quite a lot of room. Whereas if you pick yourself up a those boxes you can get from comic book stores, you could drop several baggies in a row and save yourself a bit of space and effort. Across the Narva is interesting. I really love that particular period, because the Danish divisions fought there.
Imagine going to your
getting out.
Imagine going to your next game night and being like, "I was at your lunch." You're like, "No, it's war, mate."
Or any bag.
The thing that I quite like about these games is that for the vast majority of them, especially see the ones I tend to end up seeing on like Kickstarter and stuff from, I think it's Compass do similar games to these and things. They tend to be like 1 or 2 player affairs, but I've seen a lot of people making these slightly more multiplayer endeavors where you have 3 or 4 people around a table, and then you have that team element of like generals arguing between each other and that kind of thing as well. So you've got a little bit of co-op or team-based play in there too, which is really nice. Especially because they're all sort of focused down towards either campaigns or very distinct battles from a period. You know, they may be slightly long, but I love the idea that you can play that out as a pair or 1v1 and get to the end of it and be like, do you want to swap sides and try it again, kind of thing? I like that. So
it is brilliant.
And depending on the game you're playing, some can last days/weeks, because there can be whole campaigns within these board games rather than just single scenarios. I mean, that is just the second day at Gettysburg. So in the grand scheme of things, that's going to be relatively quick in comparison to something like the Bulge, where you have multiple days to cover.
The thing is with the Deadly Woods, as it can take, I think each I might have to say each go. I'm gonna quote Lloyd on that one. Go. Each go. It lasts about an hour. So the main campaign itself takes about 13 hours. So up to December the 31st, each kind of phase takes 2 days. And then the turns in January equates to 3 days. So the full campaign can last about 13 hours, whilst the scenario for just the German offensive can take about 6 turns or goes, just to quote Lloyd.
Cool.
So it can last about 6 to 12 hours, 6 to 13 hours, or if you really do want to make a meal out of it, it can last a fair bit longer as well.
Well, that's a nice touch that you can pick up additional counters.
Yeah.
Which is nice, A, if you happen to accidentally damage some of yours, but B,
make bigger armies.
once you've got a board for specific, I mean, like the Ardennes, once you have that, if you don't want to play the Bulge, but maybe want to do early war, or you want to change what forces are available tactically, or if you've got another map set, then you can go out and put the order of battle together that you require from whatever it happens to be.
You could also do a little bit of homebrew to it, because if you took and got extra units, you could actually have requisition at the beginning of your turn to see what you were going to deploy.
Yeah.
That's
and really change up what's fighting and where versus the preset of what history had.
That's a great idea. I think what's really great as well is all of the rules to each game is available to download for PDF. So you can even take a look at the erratas, and they're always updated as well. Your player aids are updated, and some of the rules are available in different languages too. So you can dip into it. But I just personally see this game is pretty much a miniatures game without the miniatures. This is how I see this.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to gain your perspective as well and what you think of it. And is this an answer to a war game without the tedious engagement of painting a whole army? I'm not triggering anyone here. I'm not looking at anyone in particular. But this might be the case.
I have played games like this before, and they are fun.
Yeah.
It's a very, very different feel to what we would normally see on the tabletop with a miniatures game. It's more of an overarching tactical simulation you're looking at with this, versus just putting your toys down and go bashy.
Well, it's one of the things that we talked about in an article many moons ago now was the kind of 4 levels of wargaming. And you can have that kind of man-to-man fighting that you have on the tabletop, or you can sort of extrapolate that out to a much higher level. And that's where, as you guys have been saying anyway, as we've been looking through these, there's that point where it becomes unfeasible to play something with miniatures. I mean, technically you can do anything with miniatures, but if you want to spend weeks and weeks playing out the entire of Waterloo man for man, then you can do something. But if you instead wanted to dive in and try and play that out in that smaller time frame, but with chits and that kind of thing as well, it kind of moves things away so that you can play that larger scale battle, and also tinker around with the other elements of battle that you don't necessarily get to see in 28mm, 32mm games, which is that kind of requisition that Justin was talking about and that kind of stuff. So.
They're much more involved because you have to think about it in a very different way. You're looking at strategic overview rather than the small scale tactical. An interesting thing that I noticed whenever we were on the errata page, apart from having most of the rules lurking in there, there's also quite a lot of vassal modules, which means if you are interested in trying some of these out and you've never played a game like this before, Vassal is a free online program. It's an open source type of thing. So you could just download the PDF, download the Vassal module, and give these a try and see if you like them. Like I say, there's some great people, Wayne and Curtis, both on YouTube, do awful lot of these hex-based games. I'm sure there are others. Those are 2 I know. But they're worth having a look at to see whether or not that sort of game is for you, because it does change how you think about actual warfare and gaming. And the closest we get with sort of small scale 2mm to 6mm sort of stuff is still much tighter focus than games like these, where you are having to deal with whole armies and what they can do.
Also, if it's on a particular historical period that you and your friend know really well and you're wanting to play it out, playing out different tactics from what was played in history can really stump your opponent sometimes. All of a sudden the Germans have dropped paratroopers behind the Allied lines in the Battle of the Bulge, and all of a sudden what was going to reinforce the 101st is going back to take care of something in the back lines. To
be fair, you don't even need to move that way from history. If you don't want to, just trying to win the Battle of the Bulge with the Germans is tricky enough without even changing anything.
So it looks like they've got quite the vast majority of these look to be sort of World War II based.
World War II and American, so there's certainly American Civil Wars there, and I think I've seen a American War of Independence as well.
Yeah, but you mentioned there was like a 1066 one as well, was there? Like a Hastings one?
There is a Hastings,
Very.
Ooh.
Oh, do you like the Battle of Hastings then?
I do. It's Anglo-Saxons and Normans.
Of course. There's a bit of everything, which is nice. As you said, it is predominantly World War II, but they have got the bit here and there. And it's just, as you said, it's interesting. Quite a lot of people I know do like to play out as history foretold, but it is nice to try out the different scenarios. And what I do like about these is it is, like you said, because it is on a grander scheme, it's a different perspective as well, and how it... Absolutely fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, even things like that. The arrow supply, that's a famous one, where the Normans ran out of arrows after having just futilely fired them up the hill, at the shield wall, and had no effect. And eventually they just ran out, and that was the archers gone. So when you're faced with things like supply lines and actual what you have to deal with on the tabletop becomes much more interesting. Not everybody gets a shot all the time, but terrific set of games and a cracking
Indeed,
Liberty. I really want to cross the Narva now as well.
Jerry gets to do his shopping this week.
I never thought that I was going to pick an indie and Jerry would be interested. I mean, I never thought that was going to happen. So,
I'm a man of many parts. You never know what's going to hook my fancy at any given time. I certainly don't, which is why my bank account cries.
Just hear his wallet.
But yeah, terrific indie, and really nice to see something that we haven't really explored before, and we probably should do more of.
Yes.
But we're going to move on. It's time for the news.
Coming to you from the center of Northwestern Europe. Covering board games, war games, card games, and all that you love. It's the news.
Oh yes, diving into the news for this week. And I will preface this by saying that at the time of filming, yes, I am totally aware that there is more Warhammer news to come. But no, we will not be covering it because of when we're filming this. Not on a Saturday, not on a Friday night. So there you go.
Explain it the way they'll understand. Timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly things.
Timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly. We'll come back to it next week. I'm sure it can't be that good. Although if it is good, maybe I'll do something about it. But anyway, we start with some awesome stuff from the Age of Sigmar, now that I have got my brain in order. And we are looking at possibly the biggest model that I think they've ever created for the Mortal Realms.
How big is big?
So this is Kragnos. He is the god of earthquakes from the time of myth and legend within the Mortal Realms. And now he has been freed from his mountain tomb, and he is looking to get revenge on all those that put him there, namely Lord Kroken the Seraphon and a bunch of others as well. He is pretty massive. I mean, when you look at the actual little icon down in the bottom left, you'll see that's about the size of a normal sword or a skull. And then when you see the image later on, you'll get an idea of exactly how big he is. It should be further on down, but you can watch the video as well and take a look at it too. But this guy is going to be leading the forces of destruction on the tabletop. He can be at the forefront of any destruction army that you want. You could have him leading Aurochs, you could have him leading Ogres, you could have him leading the massive Sons of Behemat as well if you wanted. So you could have a giant army led by another giant, which is pretty cool. And this guy is out to slay, as the kids say. So this fellow is going to be riding into battle. He does tons of mortal wounds. He has the ability to save pretty much any damage that comes his way. So the only thing that I can really see when it comes to dealing with him is shooting him with magic and cannons and stuff, like in the old days. Dwarves have got this, guys. Don't worry. But
clearly look to the ogres.
Right, exactly. Yeah, get the ogres and their big scrap launch and stuff. Here's a good example of how big he is in terms of scale. So if you click on that, Jerry, you'll see how big he is compared to normal ogres, the massive, huge Mournfang beasts, and the Gargants in the background as well. This guy is massive.
It's quite the beast.
He really is. I really quite like this model. I know that it is massive, and that will put a lot of people off. But I really like the style of it. I like that it's kind of going back to that classic Beastman Centaur look to it, all the Centaurs, even though it's got nothing to do with chaos. And I really like all the Celtic imagery that's sort of been woven into the armor and the shields and the weapons and that kind of thing. It feels like something that's sort of come out of that kind of myth and folklore and found its way into Age of Sigmar. A very, very cool looking miniature, in my opinion. He has two faces, so yeah.
I was going to say he does have a slight, I don't know, narcissistic complex because he appears to have himself on his shield.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So you know,
but yeah, apparently his weapons are as mythical as he is. So I think the hammer is like the heart of a huge beast or a mountain or something in the realms, and then the shield itself was something that was kind of foretelling his coming as well. So I'm sure we're going to get a lot more information about him in the Broken Realms book that's also coming out, which will also include all of the new rules for Lord Kroak, who we saw a couple of weeks ago, those new witch hunters for the free cities, and also the I cannot remember what they're called. It's like a revenant for the Sylvaneth. So if you want to throw one of those in as well, you'll be able to pick it up and all the rules from this book, which is coming out soon. So yeah, very nice.
And he's a leader for destruction.
Yes. So leader for destruction can lead any of the forces from that. So very cool indeed.
Fascinating stuff, but no sign of orcs.
No sign of orcs yet. Yes, I'm sure they'll have come out by the time you're watching this.
Yeah, I know.
But no sign of orcs yet. Keeping with the Mortal Realms, though, for now, we also have some more stuff for the Soulblight Gravelords, namely some very interesting-looking vampires and some beastly ones as well as some wolves too. So the first of these are the Soulblight Vampire Lords that you can now bring to battle. We've been talking about centaurs when it comes to Kragnos. These are kind of like, what did you say, bat-tors, Justin?
Yeah, I would call them bat-tars. You called them vamptars?
Vampires? Yeah, we're making up words, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think we have to leave it up to the community how to just like do the slang term.
Yeah.
Bat-tar.
Yeah.
I mean, it just looks like someone's on the shoulders of something, doesn't it?
It does.
Someone's cut the head off the bat, cut themselves off at the waist, and went, trousers.
Yeah. So leading the way for these, we have Loke Vi, who is the female vampire that you can see there. And they've kind of gone for that sort of aristocracy of the night feel, obviously, as you can see from the top half of the model, or at least the top third of the model. Mm-hmm. But for the rest of it, they've gone for that kind of like dragon style thing. So sort of the vampires feeding more into their sort of bestial side as well with these. Again, I'm sure these are going to be quite Marmite. I quite like how just wacky they are.
I mean, like, I'm kind of glad Lloyd's not here because he would just be going, why is there Batwing armor everywhere?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
But at this stage, putting a undead into non-batty armor would be the weirdest thing GW could do.
Very true.
Yeah, but I kind of want to see it.
I do like how they're using more. I'm seeing more miniatures coming from Games Workshop with the absent spaces, like in the wings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's more coming out with that. And I actually do like that because it adds a bit of texture to the miniatures. It's not just like...
Very true. Yeah.
But even the negative space in the pillar that it's standing on is quite cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of people will also mention the whole sort of scenic element to these as well. I mean, I guess if you're going to try and make a big, huge, towering lord of your army, put them on a big bit of rock. It's foot on rock syndrome gone mad, but I think it's fairly effective, especially if you're going to be someone who loves the sort of zany elements of the Mortal Realms. Mm-hmm. As well as Loke Vi, we've also got the Vengorian Lord. So the kit that makes Vi will also make this sort of standard Vengorian Lord vampire for you to include in your games. Don't worry if you're looking at these and you are like, where's all the vampires with feet? They do exist because we saw one a couple of months ago now. So you won't have to use these big Drake-based vampires in your games. But yeah, definitely going for that kind of classic vampiric look with the hand up and the sword raised and the fangs out and stuff, which is really nice.
Very teenage angsty.
Exactly.
Why am I a vampire?
He's doing invisible practice for Shakespeare.
I'm just trying to fathom how they would walk because they've got legs and it looks like they would go on all fours, but then they've got arms. I'm trying to fathom that.
I think they kind of like... This is like kind of body horror element of these that I quite like. That you imagine and kind of a little bit uncanny as well at the same time. Yeah. You imagine like the Drake element of it sort of stalks forward, and then the top bit sways maybe a little bit with it. It's very weird.
Have you ever seen the internet picture of baby centaurs?
No.
The little floppy human part.
Yes.
Can't keep its head up.
It's just the entire upper body's flopping.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
It works on the principle that horses, foals can walk and run within like hours of being born, whereas humans can't hold their heads up for the first 18 months. And then they've got a great cartoon of the little floppy human parts.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So maybe it'll be something like that.
It might be.
Possibly.
It'd be like Drunken Master fighting style. Whenever you come at one of these vampires, the top half just wobbling all around. You don't know where it's going to come at you from.
Yeah, very much so. Moving away from the kind of bat motif into the wolf motif, we have Radukar the Beast. That name will probably be familiar. So it turns out Radukar, spoilers, didn't die at the end of Curse City. If you've been able to play it, I guess.
Don't worry, it's not a spoiler. Nobody has it.
Exactly true.
Have you painted through it yet?
Yeah. But Radukar has fully embraced his more sort of wolfy, bestial side, and he's out ranging the battlefields, looking to tear people apart limb from limb. Very cool looking miniature. I really like this kind of this werewolfy angle for the Soulblight vampires. I think it's really awesome. And you do have that in a lot of the folklore, that vampires can turn into not just bats, but wolves and all sorts of other creatures as well. So that's a really nice addition there. Sticking with the wolf theme, we also have Bella Dama Volga. So she might look like an old lady, but she can cut you down to size very easily with that sword. She's still a vampire after all. And this again plays into that idea that the Soulblight vampires are able to call on all of the creatures of their realms in Shyish and use them to hunt down their enemies. So you've got the two wolves there that are looking very awesome, carrying on that sort of aesthetic from Radakar the Beast. I could see these two together, almost one of them as the kind of general sitting at the back and the other one being sort of unleashed as this kind of battering ram on the enemy.
This is what happens if you don't kill off the Lady of Highflower or whatever she was called from Game of Thrones.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Best polish her off with poison early on, otherwise she'll be coming for you. Riding into battle on a Stark.
It's the follow-up we never knew we needed.
Lady Olenna on another level.
Yeah. Oh man, she was cool. We've also got some new direwolves. So this will be, this is a very welcome update on the old plastic ones that were very fleshy. I like that these ones have gone for a little bit more of a kind of half and half look with these. Slightly more reminiscent of the very classic wolf from Warhammer Fantasy Battles that served well as part of many, many armies, orcs and goblins and undead vampire ones as well. So yeah. Very nice.
It's nice to see, because the last plastics they had for the dire wolves it wasn't just that they were fleshy, they were very round. It was difficult to see what was going on with anything on those models.
Yeah. Whereas these have got that nice sort of fur texture going on. Yeah. And as you can see here, there's quite a lot of them that are kind of a little bit more zombified, but they have added a few more in that are more fur as well. So you can tinker around and play with those. Finishing things off for this, we also got this nice big picture, relatively big picture, which shows off some of the cool new stuff. So you can see obviously the vampire there on foot at the big at the front. Don't worry, they're not all dragons.
The bat tower does look huge.
Yes, it is massive.
Huge.
Yeah. But at the back, on the sort of back left, you can see some big new fell bats that I think are going to be giant bats anyway. They're going to be coming into the Soulblight Grave Lord's army to conquer the battlefield and destroy those war machines that are so pesky on the back lines, as they used to do in the past.
I wonder,
are they new zombies?
Yes. We've got 2 new sets of skeletons and zombies that are coming out, themed after the ones we saw from Curse City. So you've got Deadwalker zombies, which is exactly what they are, isn't it? Deadwalker zombies. And Death Rattle skeletons. Again, very much the name implies what they are, but there you go. You'll see that. Yeah.
That's a kit that is long overdue.
Yes, it has.
Because I mean, the zombies they've had for years have oh God. It must be 98 or 99 that zombie kit came on the market.
Oh, really?
The zombies were one of... It was my second White Dwarf I ever bought, and it was the launch of the new Vampire Counts, and it had those plastics and stuff in it. And I was like, wow, they have been in service for a long time.
I mean, I don't expect any kind of zombies, to age well.
Well, very true. Yeah.
Fair.
They tend to decay.
Yeah.
Is that new Cavalry? Have we seen that before?
So that's the new Blood Knights. Yeah. So you've got Blood Knights, Deadwalker really zombies, Death Rattle skeletons, the new direwolves, all the vampires, and everything else in between.
They're very gothic, aren't they?
They are.
Very nice and gothic.
And that's one of the things I think a lot of people have quite liked about these, and is that they, for the most part, going back to that sort of more classic look for the Vampire Counts that we hadn't seen really done with Death before. And there's even a little bit of that kind of Kislevite vibe going on there as well, with a lot of them sort of outfits and stuff as well. So,
certainly with the vampires anyway, even if the dungers who are being pulled forward aren't quite as Kislevite. but I mean, we've seen with the skeletons, the armor that they were in was that sort of Russian-esque sort of Eastern Slavic look to it. So there's certainly a very strong Kislev sort of feel coming through on it,
which is very cool. We have a little bit more Games Workshop because it's been a week of Games Workshop. So we had a first reveal anyway of some Warhammer 40,000 Adepta Sororitas stuff. They basically announced that the Codex is coming, the new one, which also heralds the end of the end of this edition, if you believe the internet. But there's a couple of new characters for you to pick up. So you've got Morven Val, who was the High Abbess of the Sisters of Battle, the Adepta Sororitas. She was then given her position as one of the High Lords of Terror, which is pretty awesome, by Rubute Gilliman, or Rowboat Girly Man, as people call him. And she now has this amazing new set of Paragon Warsuit armor, which I'm sure Justin loves very much.
No, it's like low rent Appleseed in the anime.
40K tags, as Jerry was alluding to earlier.
I do feel bad for her because, like the Space Marine, the Primaris in that flying tank that has the two massive guns either side of their head, that's just two rocket pods. Goodbye to your hero day one.
So Morven Val is stepping out onto the battlefield as one of the High Lords of Terror that actually fights, although apparently one of the leader of the Adeptus Custodians might also be a High Lord of Terror, although I'm not entirely sure. And neither were Games Workshop during their live stream, so who knows?
I mean, I can kind of understand why, because Rabudi's going to rock into Terra going, you're all assholes. You're fired, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired. You're there first.
Exactly.
We'll get more.
Yeah.
It just goes to prove what I've said whenever he reappeared, that his goal is to kill the Emperor and take his place. He is chaos, and he's just going to gently remove and replace people on Terra with people who are, loyal to him.
Yeah,
and not really an amazing twist.
What a scumbag. Deal with the Ultramarines now, people. Come on.
But we also got a couple more sort of releases that were previewed as well. So you got the Paragon Warsuits, which you've seen before. We also had a couple of new characters. So there's Paragon Warsuits, as Jerry's showing now. But we had Astrid Thurger and Agathe Dolan. So Astrid Thurger carries that rather impressive standard into battle, and Agathe Dolan follows in her wake, recording all of the incidents of battle, and she also has that standard in her hands that she can plant into the ground and will give bonuses to all of the Sisters of Battle around her.
She just looks so unamused.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah. She has had enough of your
She's the old lady that you make a joke at the bus stop who looks at you and tuts. That's
pretty much. Yeah. That's what I'm getting off that.
Yeah, but we also got to see the new Codex, well, it's the artwork for it as well, which is going to contain all of the new information on all of the units that are coming out for the Adepta Sororitas. But it will also include very bespoke Crusade rules for using them. So Crusade's a really awesome narrative way of playing 40K, which I am tempted to dive into with my friend. But this comes with very unique rules for them that will kind of follow your Adepta Sororitas from kind of like a lowly unit within the Ecclesiarchy all the way up to living saints, which is pretty awesome to hear as well.
Sweet.
And we also got, and this is fairly boring, we got a new Warzone book, which everyone in the Twitch chat was like, this is it. But there we go. Which will continue Warzone Caradon, which looks at the campaigns of Typhus as he looks to take over the world of Metallica. But it also, and this was kind of fun.
Sister.
Exactly.
I mean, I was kind of looking at him and thought it was Iron Man for a second. I was like, hold on.
We also got some news that Be'lakor is going to be part of this book called The Book of Fire. So Be'lakor is looking to be like, hey, Typhus, you think you're amazing? Bing! Flicked off into the distance. I rule everything now. And there's going to be rules that will allow you to make a proper, badass, combined force of demons and Chaos Space Marines as one big force underneath Be'lakor with some special rules as well. So, yeah, very awesome.
But there you go.
Yeah.
That's who's going to stand up to him.
Yeah. Morven Vale is going to kick ass. I like her anyway. So, yeah.
There wasn't much surprise then, more Sisters of Battle.
It was very much a live stream on the Tuesday where everyone was like, come on, Beast Snagger boys. They're probably out by this point. But anyway, Beast Snagger boys. And then it was like, oh, okay. All the models.
Sisters. I didn't want sisters.
Exactly. I wanted Snaggers.
Don't always get what you want.
Yeah.
It's kind of like getting an ugly pair of socks at Christmas.
Exactly. Except these ones are power armored socks.
Power armored.
But we got a little bit of extra 40K news alongside some Black Library releases as well. So for fans of the sort of classic Imperial Guard Astra Militarum squad known as Gaunt's Ghosts, They are coming back with a plastic kit, and oh my days, these guys look badass.
Oh, hell, the fat yes.
They're pretty cool, aren't they?
They are. Now, considering the life expectancy of many Imperial Guard soldiers is very low, the fact that Gaunt's ghosts are still going is pretty awesome. I mean, they do live on the world of Tanith, which is...
no, they don't.
Do they not live on Tanith? I thought they lived on Tanith.
They come from Tanith.
Tanith went away.
Yes.
Oh, right.
Yes. Whenever they were founded, Tanith, the chaos they invaded, and it was just like, this ours now, you can't have this no more, and gone.
Oh, well, there we go. I didn't realise that.
The reason they live so long is that they've got a commissar who's not up to snuff.
Well, yes, that's true.
Yeah, who's actually got a fully functional brain.
No, he doesn't. No. If he had a fully functional brain, those Gaunt's ghosts would have been pushed into whatever fight needed to be pushed into to win. He seems to be spending all his time mollycoddling them.
Yeah, that and
he's not proper. An inquisitor
making babies with the local aristocracy.
Or a high commissar should just come and put around the back of his head, because he is not doing the Imperium any favors.
Yeah.
I'll keep seeing these chaos releases. You know why? Because of them.
Yeah.
Because these guys exist.
This is showing like the early version of Gaunt, where it's bolt pistol and chainsword, and he's still a colonel commissar. Because in the books, he eventually ends up being a commissar general.
Well, there you go.
Does he get any better at doing his job?
I mean, he gets other units that he gets to throw into the fire and keep the ghost by his side as like a personal retinue.
Yeah, I don't trust him any more than I trust Rowboat. There's something going on when they're keeping people alive instead of just feeding grist into the mill like they should be.
I mean, they did spend 2 years on a chaos-infected world.
I think he read a nice book and it told him that nurture was the way forward. And so he's decided to think less about executing people and instead giving them nice hugs and soup.
Colm Corbeck, absolute badass.
But yeah, so they had a look at each of the individual characters in this, as you can see here. Really nice new plastic kits. A lot of people were worried these are going to be Forge World resins, but thankfully they're going to be a nice plastic kit.
That's great.
They will have rules for using them in Warhammer 40,000, as you might imagine. I would really like to see them with some additional rules, maybe as bespoke rules for using them in Kill Team as well. I think that'd be really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really hoping this isn't all of it, because there are some characters that are missing, like Tona Crid.
Well, you never know. They may do more additional stuff through Forge World to add on to this, you see.
So. I would hope so, because I actually have the old set. One of our community members sent us to it. And there's characters in there that I'm just not seeing in this set.
Well, we can have a look at your old set and compare them against the new ones.
In my pile of shame. No, I actually...
Will you be able to spot who's who, though?
Yeah, I'll be able to tell you pretty much who's who.
He brings out all the Black Library knowledge of the past.
There we go. There we go.
I will, in that case, pull these up like this then.
Yeah, I will point out while Jerry is
footering
around in the background that in addition to all of the plastic kit stuff for Gaunt's Ghosts, they're also going to be doing a whole bunch of new books. So there's one focused around the Sabbat worlds and the anthology for that. And then there's loads and loads and loads of new books coming out to look at not just the that kind of area of things, but also some Xenos stuff. So there's there's a new book coming up about the Necrons. And there's also a whole bunch of new Warhammer crime novels as well. So definitely go and check those out. But yes, let's have a look at some comparisons.
New Gaunt?
I mean, did you ever paint them?
No. They were gifted to me. I put them in a box and then I forgot that I had them for I found them when I was cleaning my house. I was just like, I feel bad. But you can see, so this is the later version of Gaunt where he's got the power sword of Hieronymus Sondar.
All right.
These are just two regular dudes, I believe, just two infantrymen.
Regular dudes.
Regular dudes.
In that case, do we have any more named people then?
Yes. So there's Colm Corbeck, the old version in the middle.
Okay.
So the update's pretty nice. On the right is the one that's sort of the Doctor. The name's on the tip of my tongue.
The Doctor.
Yeah.
They don't have the Doctor in here, unfortunately.
No, they do have Flayn Larkin, who's our little sniper dude in that one.
Oh.
Who's on the left?
Yeah. I
like the new one there.
I like the new one.
I like his old rifle, though. The long pattern lass.
Yeah.
with the
He's
side
like,
loading.
I like the old rifle, but I like the new position that he's in.
Yeah. And then there should be another one with a couple of named ones in there.
There's a bagpiper.
Yep, that's Bryn Milo. Gaunt's adjutant. He's only 16 years old, the poor wee lad. last civilian to be saved on Tanith when it went boom.
Oh, okay, there you go.
And then
there's
you got
the Tanith thing. Yeah.
Tonna Crid, the only female guardsman I have ever seen.
Right.
There's one in the Space Marine video game, although she's not a miniature. So
yeah.
I think I have 4 or 5 Imperial Guardsmen who are female.
Oh, okay.
And I haven't even been paying that much attention. but your female guardswoman and Bryn, was it?
We're not there. Yep.
Yeah, no, neither of them exist, unfortunately.
You've got Bragg in this one. He's carrying an autocannon. In the old one, I believe he's carrying a plasma.
Oh, okay. So he thinks better of his health and safety now this time. Don't roll a 1, don't roll a 1.
He's the worst shot in the regiment, but he's a big dude, so they just give him a big gun and say, try again, Bragg.
There you go.
I love that.
Should have given him a heavy bolter then. At least it's got one more dice than the autocannon.
I mean, like the story is that he actually ripped it off a pintle mount and just walks around with it.
Very
It's
cool.
one way of doing it, certainly.
I'll do it, yep.
And
Very
actually in the
Pacific
book, it's
theatre.
2 of them that he's just jury-rigged together that he rocked about with.
That's awesome. That's very cool. But yeah, so loads of stuff coming up for Games Workshop, even more over the weekend, the next couple of days as well, from when you're seeing this anyway. So yeah, we'll make sure to come back to it next week, I'm sure. But yeah, very cool stuff. And don't forget, if you like any of this stuff for Age of Sigmar or Warhammer 40,000 or Kill Team or even Black Library, we actually have it all over on store.ontabletop.com.
Buy merch.
Buy merch, where you can go and pick up everything. We've been hot on the heels of every one of the new releases. So if you want something, we have a lovely team that will try and get it for you.
Yeah, not going to lie, the ghosts are coming home with me.
Every box individually licked by Justin.
Yeah, very true. Yeah.
You say that.
It won't have incubated in the mail, don't worry.
No.
But yeah.
So what's
very
up
cool.
next then, moving away from the world of Games Workshop?
Well, one of the reasons that I love card games so much is because I can pick up a game and I don't have to burn my brain to become completely immersed in it. And they're quick, they're really fun. They generally don't take that long to pick up unless you play a living card game, then that's just a whole new can of worms. But Fantasy Realms has honestly been one of my favourite games for quite a while now to pick up quite fast. So as a girl whose heart solely belongs in a woodland fantasy world, it's a card game that's rich in story and card drafting in a competitive nature. So myself, I normally play this game with about 3 to 4 of us involved, but the game can take up to 6 players. So the concept of Fantasy Realms is pretty simple. You draw a card, you discard a card, all with the hope of achieving the most victory points at the end of the game. So you choose the route that you want to take. So whether you want to utilize military, harness the power of magic, there's combos upon combos which can be created to take down your opponent whilst actually creating a story immersed in fantasy. So when I heard that the Cursed Hoard expansion is coming to Fantasy Realms, I was delighted, as there's some new cards and concept coming, and even better, it doesn't make the game more complex. It just adds a few more layers to the base game. So cursed items are now featured in your drawing pile. So although they may sound tempting, providing with you some dirty little perks to take down the enemy, such as skipping your go, peeking the opponent's card, playing them, it does have a price, and it provides you with negative points to tally up at the end of the game. So as it works on points, if you're going to use one of these, you are going to pay for it. So you might be high on points, stealing some pretty awesome cards in the process. Personally, I think I'm too much of a safe player to be dealing with curses, but I will definitely be picking this one up. But along with the lovely cursed items, there are some new cards which will allow you to expand your realm with new buildings, attract new characters and strangers to your benefit. And if that's not enough for you, there is even a chance to hold the power of raising the undead now. So because zombies in a fantasy world is always going to be good. Always.
It's very good for fetching and carrying.
Yeah.
They don't complain.
Not good for swimming, but yeah, I'm going to keep my eyes open to see when this is out in the UK, because at the moment it's just been released in North America. Cool. So I'm going to be checking Google and a bit of eBay to see if this one, so I can try out the Cursed Hold.
So just hammering the hell out of your F5 button.
Yeah.
I really like the sound of it. I like that kind of the basic mechanic of just draw a card, play a card.
Yeah, it works really
nicely. And then I like the fact that it's kind of distilling down a little bit of that 4X quality to playing games as well, which is really nice. So yeah,
this is usually really one I take on a plane with me because it's quick. It is a quick one. So as I said, it's nice to have an expansion that doesn't actually confuse the game as well. It just adds a little bit more extra to it. So yeah, fantastic.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah. Also, one that completely passed me by. I hadn't realised that the original, the Fantasy Realms game existed. So
yeah, I didn't even know this would come out from WizKids either. That's crazy.
It's been out a long time now. Quite a long time.
They hide their light under a bushel. That's their problem.
And Tree has revealed it.
No, there you go. Enjoy.
Yeah. Sticking with the realms of fantasy, we had some new releases from the folks over at Modiphius for the Elder Scrolls Call to Arms. So there's a whole bunch of stuff coming up for their new wave of releases, starting with the addition of the Elder Scrolls Online Cinematic Heroes. So if you have watched the cinematics for that massively multiplayer online RPG or MMORPG, then you can now add the Nord, the Breton, and the High Elf into your games. Now, obviously, the Elder Scrolls Online happens many, many years before the events of Skyrim, but that doesn't mean that you can't use them in your games as awesome characters, maybe even as your own Dovahkiin if you wanted to. In addition to the Nord, the Breton, and the High Elf, you've also got Manny Marco, which sounds like an amazing name, who is the leader, who's the villain that they're facing down in those cinematics as well. In addition to that, there's also loads of new stuff for the Steam and Shadows expansion for the Elder Scrolls. So you've got the Council of the Dark Brotherhood, the quest line that pretty much everybody does at some point in Skyrim.
If you commit murder, they'll just wake you up and go, yeah,
exactly. You can go and hang out with Astrid, or you can also roll in some Dark Brotherhood aspirants as well. So if you wanted to take down the Dark Brotherhood, then you could face these fellows in the streets and countrysides around Skyrim. This is all coming, as I said, as part of the Steam and Shadows expansion for the Elder Scrolls Online, Elder Scrolls Call to Arms, which will allow you to play as all of the stuff from the Dark Brotherhood, in addition to all of the Dwemer stuff that we looked at, I think it was 2 weeks ago, or maybe last week. You've also got these Flame Atronachs as well. So if you wanted to summon some demons into battle as a mage, then you can do that, or indeed just face them down in the dungeon as well. All of the information for all of the stuff you see here is going to be included in a new card pack that can be picked up as part of a bundle or separately if you wish, that will have all of the stats for using them as characters and villains and all the different scenarios and everything as well. So if you are diving into the Elder Scrolls Call to Arms, which is a solo, cooperative, and competitive game, then you've got lots of things to look forward to. And everything you need is effectively in these new bundles. So yeah, cool stuff there.
Fantastic. Cool. And moving away from the world of fantasy and into the world of hot two-gun action and the Wild West.
Yeah. So we got some news last week that Great Escape Games are working on their first big multi-part plastic kit, which will allow you to make 10 gunfighters for use in your Wild West games on the tabletop. So this will allow you to make lawmen, outlaws, mix of desperados, cowboys, however you want to go. And they've got a whole bunch of awesome options on the sprues for you to check out. Loads of nice weapons in there. So you've got your traditional revolvers, 6-shooters and that kind of thing. You've also got your rifles, and the ever lovable shotgun is in there as well, because if you're doing a Wild West game, you need a shotgun at some point, and you need to give it to a preacher, because the preacher's got to lay down the law with that. So yeah,
can be, or you can give it to the gambler.
Or you give it to the gambler, yes.
Honestly, I'm just seeing the bundle of dynamite there, and it's just like never leave home without it.
I mean, even things to dress the base, like the cattle skull. And
that's great.
Is great. I love the fact that they have the shotgun available, that you can have the breech open.
Mm-hmm.
So I was for a second looking at the tiny cacti at the bottom, and I was like, why would they need a balloon animal? Oh,
my brain did go there.
That's not being unseen. And even a couple of silver stars there as well for your marshals or sheriffs. So you can dress them up however you want. It's a terrific looking set.
I think so. Yeah.
I like the arm with the 2 saddlebags.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
Such.
Somebody just escaping with whatever loot they've happened to find.
Yeah.
I think with 10 models in the set as well, that kind of, I would say, covers maybe 2 people playing the game. So if you wanted to dive in and play something like Tombstone, for example, or Dead Man's Hand, which is what the kit's basically made for from Great Escape Games, and you can pick this up, 2 people, sit there, build your perfect set of outlaws and lawmen or whatever, and get stuck into your games. I think it looks really cool and good for new players who don't want to fiddle around with metal and all that kind of stuff as well. So yeah.
This would also be perfect for the old Warhammer historical one.
Yeah, Legends of the Old West.
Yep.
Yeah. Love that game.
Interesting to see I suppose, a departure for Great Escape in going for the plastics.
Yeah, very much so.
And I suppose obviously it's their flagship sort of property. They want to get people playing it. Hopefully this does well for them. And if they see the sales from this, then we may see other plastic kits down the line, which will be interesting.
Well, they do Chicago Way, and I would love to see a plastic set of gangsters and cops. I think that would be really cool. But yeah, we shall see.
Definitely.
From the Wild West onto the Wild Seas. Every month, see what I did there? See what I did? I tried my first transition. Did I do okay?
Oh, smart. People won't even have noticed that. That was seamless.
Every month, 4 Kragnos Studios have got 2 important dates. So the pre-order date and then the time that you can actually get your hands on it. So this month, there's been lots of pre-orders, including 2 for Dystopian Wars, ready to see the release at the end of this May. So including a brand new Battlefleet for the Commonwealth faction and a new set of Frontline squadrons for the Celestian Empire. So the Mozhayski Battlefleet is the first to prepare its head into the high seas of naval warfare, containing the Mozhayski freight carrier, 2 Katangi class carriers, a Solotov class. I'm really trying Russian here, guys. I'm really trying.
No, you go, girl, because we're not trying.
A Karana plant and your SRS token. So the best thing about these battle fleets is they contain 2 options for the cruiser as well. So in this instance, you can either build the Morozko or the Bravada class, which will provide you with just some more customization for your fleet. So this is not the first the release for the Commonwealth as well as the Bordino class battleship, the Kustov class carriers and the alternate builds, and the Ruick class frigate, which can be found in the Hunt for Prometheus 2-player starter set. So second lot of Commonwealth frontline squadrons as well, which are ideal to bolster up those Commonwealth fleets. For those who are playing with the Commonwealth, you have got a choice to play with when you're building your fleet, and dare I say, a wealth of options. And as well as that, this month you had some squadron boxes coming out as well for the Empire. So if you are looking to bolster up your fleets there, make your empires a bit more chunky, then you have certainly got your way forward for this one.
I've actually built the core starter set for this. Really fun kits to put together. I really enjoyed them. Yeah,
brilliant.
Very nice.
I love the modularity that's on the cruisers every time I see a set.
I just love the distinctive difference between each individual faction. It is absolutely fascinating to see how different. When somebody says naval warfare, for me, I imagine ships. But when I see ships with every character embedded in each different faction, it blows my mind.
Your new cruisers here, they look like they have massive drill bits on the front.
Yes, true.
Yeah. But as well as that, we've got aircraft as well.
That's how you hammer somebody below the waterline. But the aircraft as well, they have a very, I suppose, modern feel to them, while at the same time still having that riveted aesthetic of the ironclads.
That steampunky thing.
Yeah.
And it looks like they've got like 8 jet engines on them.
Could be 8 or all of the bombs.
All of
the torpedoes. Who knows? They are a ridiculously terrific looking thing. But like you say, but the difference between that faction and then the Empire is like night and day, because you can see that just in the glazed green tiles and a couple of big barking dogs up front.
The thing is these have been out for a month now. The Empire Battlefleet set, seeing them painted up now. It's just, I love the colour scheme that people are going with as well, because as you said, you've got the colours, you've got the jades, you've got the reds, and you're really seeing the character with the paint on as well. So fantastic.
Superb stuff. So we have one final piece of news this week then, Ben.
We do, yes. So there's a little bit of a look ahead to what's happening with Oathmark from the guys at North Star Military Figures and Osprey. So those people who picked up the latest expansion, I guess it would be, for Oathmark will have found rules for playing undead forces, namely Skeleton Warriors and Deadly Revenants. The Skeleton Warriors came out as a box set not too long ago. But the Revenants are now coming out. It's been established in early June. So if you want to check these out, then they are coming very, very soon indeed. Really like these. I love the theme of the Revenants as kind of almost like that Draugr aesthetic. And it's very much a nice way of playing, well, using undead in your armies without it being like a cunning old necromancer that's done it. These are very much kind of like the buried heroes that have been risen from the dead to fight alongside your army. Maybe even the army of the dead that has sworn allegiance to a lost king who has now returned to fight once more for his kingdom of Gondor.
It's an excellent way to do it. I mean, the whole thing about Oathmark is you can blend whatever you want. It's not straight evil. It can be good. And with Oathbreakers, the idea that some people have been slaved after death to pay off their oaths is very much a thing. I love the bronze Celtic look to them.
Yes,
as well, because
cool.
they have that distinctly different and old school feel. So you can see them stumbling forth out of a barrow with a whole host of weapons, whether it's some sort of massive bronze axe or a big leaf sword. They do look terrific. But the undead are not the only thing coming. We also have cavalry.
Yes, so in addition to the undead, I'd muted myself out of relief. But yeah, so we also have some new stuff coming up anyway in plastic form for the humans, also in metal as well. So the human cavalry are going to be charging onto the tabletop, and there's lots of different options for you to play around with there. You're going to have sort of plastic horses, and then your mounted plastic riders who can be armed with bows or spears or hand weapons like swords and axes and all kinds of things like that. They're also going to be doing, as you saw above in that picture that we just saw, some metal figures that will go on top of the plastic horses that you could use as characters and leaders and stuff if you wanted to as well, which is nice.
Heroes and champions. It's a really nice set as well. I believe, I could be wrong, but I think it's 3 horses to a sprue. So I don't know if they've said if it's 12 or 15 yet, but it looks like it might be 15. It
is 15 cavalry to a box, which is pretty interesting because, as you say, most of the time it's like 10 or 12. So it's nice to have that little bit of extra, an extra bonus models in there to play around with.
It also means you can subdivide your box then, which is a nice thing about it. So you can have 5 light cavalry with bows and then 2 ranks of actual sort of spear arm cavalry to go in and do the charge. So you have options, and options are always good.
I will say that
think about the shields.
Now you see, I don't mind them in so much as that I think they work with that kind of Tolkien-esque Gondorian thing going on. Not sure they work for, my favoured Rohirrim, because I would definitely replace all those with round shields because that's just the way it is, right?
It's just how it's got to be,
Yeah, but you could easily do some very Middle-earthy armies with these boxes.
You could.
I think obviously they match into the infantry that they've made.
Yes.
Which is one of the reasons why they have the rectangular shield, but just using it from horseback would seem like it would be tricky. I would just take clippers and scallop out a bit at the end, even just cut into a kite or a teardrop and away you go. It would still have the same look without accidentally repeatedly stabbing your horse in the neck, which I hear is bad for horses.
Yeah, possibly.
I don't think they'll enjoy it now.
No.
Just to round things off as well when it comes to Oathmark, it was reported on our site not too long ago, but there is going to be a new book coming out in June, which is called Bane of Kings, which will introduce a whole bunch of new scenarios and also rules for making up big shield walls on the tabletop as well. So if you want to go full-on dwarf and build a big badass shield wall to hide behind, then you'll find options for doing that as well. There will be other stuff in there on top of just shield walls, don't worry.
There will be non-dwarf things in the book.
I think the question is, do you want to go full on dwarf, Ben? Is this what you're getting at? Yeah.
Ben will always go full dwarf.
Many, many years ago, he went that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an outstanding selection of news for this week. There's a lot more on the site if people want to go and have a browse around and see the things that we weren't able to cover, because we can't cover it all in this week. But we're going to leave you with a quick chat I had with Tony from UK Games Expo, and then after that, we'll be back with some Kickstarters.
Did you win one of our prizes? Find out on our prize claim center over at ontabletop.com. Here we list all our previous prizes and those who have won. If you see your username, fill out the form to claim your prize. All prizes must be claimed within 30 days.
Hello everybody, today I'm joined by Tony, one of the driving forces behind UK Games Expo, and he's here with a big announcement for the weekend. So Tony, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show.
No, it's great to see you guys again, and I'm not sure if I feel comfortable being the driving force. I don't think I've got a license for that.
It's always better to be in the driving seat. That's how I find things anyway. So
even if you've got your eyes closed.
Oh, well, yeah. It's definitely one way of careering through the past year we've had. I think it's probably best to keep your eyes closed. But we are here with happy news for people because after all the trials and tribulations of the last year, you have a big announcement for today. And that is...
UK Games Expo will be running a live show at the end of July. So we can say for definite that we will be running, bar some utter catastrophe, but everything is now pushing towards that. And we're pleased to announce that we will be running the show and tickets will be going live on this Friday, the 7th at 6 p.m.
So by the time you kids are watching this at home, they're already up. So I pause the video here, run off, book your ticket, come back, see what you've booked for.
Yes, hopefully to the correct website as well.
Yeah. Oh, don't worry, we'll put it in the doobly-doo below. So obviously it's not going to be the UK Games Expos we've seen in previous years. You've had to take some limiting sort of factors into account. So what sort of things will people expect to see from UKGE 2021?
Well, I think the first thing and the key thing and the thing that everybody will be shouting at their computer at the moment is, what about COVID? Is it going to be safe? And I genuinely believe with what we've put in place, the halls 2 and 3 of the NEC on the weekend of the Expo is probably going to be one of the safest places in the UK. And I can say that because we're going to require everybody who comes to the show to have a lateral flow test at a local test centre. So that means if you're an exhibitor, the NEC staff are already doing that. Our staff and volunteers will be required to do it. And every attendee will be required to have a lateral flow test at a local test centre. Can't do the ones at home because they don't have your name on it. And then when you come to the NEC, you'll be able to show that result and some form of ID, so we can match them up. And then you'll be able to collect your tickets and wristbands. And so we've started this campaign playing with confidence because we want people to know we're not just running the show and hoping things, as I said when we started, driving blind.
Sure.
We've spent a lot of time going through this, thinking it through, and we've held off on any announcement until we could see both the record lows of COVID infections, the massive vaccination program, which is just, been fantastic. All of the signs towards June the 21st and that last lockdown announcement and the announcement about large events means that we can with confidence now say that we can run a safe live show. So this will be one of the few places in the country that when you turn up, you know that everybody's had a negative COVID test in the last 24 hours. So that's our first thing. Our second thing is we've got confidence in the venue. The NEC has done a lot of work over this last year. There have been times like in October when they could have launched, and then we had the second wave, and but they prepped for that. So they've installed hospital-grade filters into the halls. So, the air in there is going to be safe. And they're not small halls anyway. These are not, these are not confined rooms. They almost qualify as outside. They put many hundreds of sanitizing stations all over the place, and they have specialist cleaning teams that were going to pay specific attention to those high traffic areas. Bearing in mind, everybody in there's had a negative COVID test.
Yeah.
So, it is belt and braces with this. So in addition to that, we've got confidence in our procedures, in UK Games Expo procedures. We've widened the aisles to 4 meters, which just allows for extra space. Yeah.
Yep.
We will, of course, be adhering to Public Health England's rules, both because we'd get arrested if we didn't. And, while I'm not, adverse to the odd free meal at Her Majesty's pleasure, we're going to try and avoid that.
Yeah.
But we will have, at the moment, reduced capacity. So not only are the aisles wider, we'll almost certainly not be running at full capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So that will, again, add some extra space. So whatever Public Health England say we've got to do on that weekend, we will do that.
Sure.
Yeah. All staff and volunteers, and I think people who know Expo, who've volunteered before know that we do train our staff, and they will be receiving updated training on the procedures we've got, what we're expecting, and how to operate to make a safe show. And then, all of that stacked together, low COVID levels, high vaccination rates, lateral flow tests, larger aisles, cleaning stations, sanitizing stations. To be perfectly honest, you'd be lucky if you catch anything. I mean, we all know with conferences and conventions, you have that. You always wonder you're going to catch something, get a bit of a cold.
You get home and you have a cold or a bit of a flu because
I don't think you're going to be catching anything at this show. The only thing you're going to be catching is a good time, and all of that gives us confidence now to release tickets. However, we're not going to release just general have as many tickets as you like.
Sure.
We're working on the basis of what we know Public Health England's baseline is for a convention of our size. So that means we're going to be releasing 4,000 tickets a day at this present time, which is about 23% of that hall's capacity. Yeah?
Yep.
So if we ran at that, and we would run at that, so just let me make it clear. If we will run at that level, you'd be lucky if you saw somebody else. There'd be that
spread out. Yeah.
Yes, 4,000 people sounds a lot, but remember we're talking 20,000 plus square meters of hall. However, we are fully convinced that capacity will go up. That's the absolute minimum. That's what they were recommending in October.
Okay.
And if you think of where we are now compared to where we were in October, you can see that as the events research program reports back, we're going to see an increased capacity. But we're going to release those first 4,000 tickets minus the people who rolled over. So we think there's probably going to be about 3,000 tickets a day available to buy on Friday at 6 p.m. So if you definitely want a ticket, I would get in while the getting's good.
Sure.
But I'm convinced that we're going to see releases of more tickets as we get closer.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, Public Health England are running a lot of trials around various cities with all sorts of events, gigs, concerts, and things to see exactly what they can do and the best way to run things. So
we are tapped into the back end of that, where they're reporting and with various industry bodies that, so, we're not just getting the news headlines, we're getting the sort of the background information, and that's feeding back through to all the large venues who are talking with us. So the NEC are where we're announcing today. We told them that, and they said, they thought it was that was a reasonable way forward. And as I said, so we may find, as we've noticed, all of the testing they've done is with lateral flow testing.
Sure.
So we have a lateral flow test, and then they've done various levels of social distancing. So we may find by the time we get to July 31st, which remember is 3 months away still,
Yeah.
So there's time for levels to drop even further, vaccines to go up even further. By that 3 months, I think we will see a change in the advice. And it may well be they say to us, well, you don't need social distancing at a major event. However, we'll keep the 4-meter aisles in. We'll keep that spacing in. If for no other reason, the Expo isn't a speedboat, it doesn't turn on a sixpence.
Yeah.
It's more like an oil tanker, and we know how stuck they can get.
Well, yeah, very much so.
So we go on a Suez Canal incident where we try and turn the boat where there's no room. So there are certain things which we're just putting in place, and we'll stick with them even if the government come back and say, you don't need those things. Just from a planning perspective and a safety perspective, we may as well keep some of those things in place.
Yeah. So at the moment, everything is set up and ready to go based on current advice, and then it can be revisited over the next 3 months, depending on how things change. And I see you've signed up to the industry standard for Tourism UK there with the
the Good to Go.
Good to Go scheme. So all the boxes correctly ticked and checked. So for people out there, you've got the tickets are now on sale from Friday the 30th to Sunday the 1st of August. If you fancy actually getting back out and seeing real people in an event and playing some games, then this is probably going to be the way the rest of the year is going for everyone. So the Games Expo is definitely one to jump on board with. It's been so long since we've had a convention together, and I'm desperate to actually get back out there and see people in the wild once more.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, we're very keen to get back together, to see you guys, and there are some things we've changed. So Bring and Buy won't run this year. So before you load your wheelbarrows of stuff up, that was one of those things we thought, well, it's like a rugby scrum in there. Everybody bringing their boxes from home. This is probably not the year to run that. Yeah. But if you're interested, you can go onto the website, and each section of the show at the top of its page has got a good to go box, and that will explain to you. So if you go to What's On, and you go to Open Go, and if you go into What's On and go to Open Gaming, I don't know what you've clicked on. There we go, Open Gaming. You see you get this green box at the top. Mm-hmm. So if you look already, plans for the hall maps allow for increased spacing between tables to allow people to pass. So at the moment, we've spaced the tables out in Open Gaming so that there's a lot more space, over 2 meters between them. So this will explain, is this section of the show running? And if it is, what alterations do we feel we needed to make it safer and, operate under current conditions? So these will update as we go along to make sure that all the way through we're complying with the best advice that we're being given from Public Health England, from the NEC, from our own experience, because we want to have a great convention. We want to have a safe convention. And we think both of those things are entirely possible now, probably for the first time in 18 months, where we've planned this convention now, I think 6 or 7 times. And Richard literally is sitting under a pile of maps, each one, for the different variations we thought we would have. And I'm very convinced now that we can run a show in July. Yep. It will be safe. It will probably be one of the safest places in England on that weekend. The sun will be shining because, as we know, the sun always shines on Expo weekend. True. Because if nothing else, just to make us all hot. One of the great things about Expo is as families have come to it, we've seen that grow and it to be a real family event. And there will be a family zone again this year. We are maintaining the ticket prices from, 2 years ago nearly now? Mm-hmm. So we've not increased those prices. And there are all sorts of details that I haven't gone into here. Yeah. And people may have lots and lots of questions, and we will start to filter those details onto the website. To give you an idea, on a standard Expo, we have a master plan which covers everything we're doing. And that can be 90 to 100 pages of close type text. So really dull to read. And all of the detail we'll do. In other words, we won't use lanyards this year. We'll use wristbands. How will we use multi-day wristbands? All of that detail, will slowly filter onto the website into the relevant sections. So we just wanted to get that broad message out that we're confident to play, we're confident to run a expo this year, and we want you guys to be confident to come and enjoy it. We've had a long time of really difficult, painful, depressing pandemic. Yeah. And, some people need to get out. Some people out there, have had it really, really tough, and we get that. And it's made a lot of people fearful, and with good reason. So, we understand that. This is the chance to go, you know what? There is a chance for normality. There is a chance for some of that life back. Yeah. And it just so happens we have to be scheduled into the front end of that. So somebody's got to go first. So
why not you then?
Why not us? We're happy to jump out the aeroplane, as it were.
That's what we'd like to hear. Well, folks, if you've any further questions, feel free to drop them below, and we'll pass them across to the guys and gals at UK Games Expo. Otherwise, keep an eye on the website, where all the details will be updated as and when it gets concreted in, I suppose. So until next time, Tony, hopefully we shall be seeing each other in person. Yes.
We will be running a Twitch stream on Wednesday.
Okay.
If you look on the website, there'll be a link for that, which again is an opportunity for you, to come and ask some questions if you've got them. So that will be a sort of live question and answer stream on Twitch. So again, you may have some questions. We may say to you, look, we're going to have to wait to give you the answer to that.
Yeah.
Or we may have it to hand, and we want to be as open and transparent as ever with these things. And remember, our standard terms and conditions apply. If you buy a ticket and you want a refund, the answer is yes.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to move on, folks. Until next time, Tony. Bye-bye. Okay, folks, so there you are. Good news at last. Games and gaming conventions are finally returning.
Well, the main thing to take away from what we talked about with Tony is that they've done a lot of stuff to make sure that it's basically safe for everybody, which is good.
It's the one thing those guys know they're doing, and it's good to see that the NEC is also taking extra precautions as well.
The other thing to note as well is that there's some links that were mentioned probably in the interview, and we've got them on the site as well. So there's this Play With Confidence, hashtag Play With Confidence. And if you follow that through, and you can see it on our website as well in the new story put out this week, that there is all the steps that they're going through for both attendees and also the staff that are there as well, to make sure that it's safe as it can be. I cannot wait to play games.
I can't wait to play games with people. I don't have to do solo games anymore.
Fantastic. So we're not actually going to delve into the world of 3D this week. Don't worry, we'll be back next week, and we have a doozy for you.
So what, we've got 3D printing constipation?
That type of thing.
I think however, it's not ready yet.
Because we spoil you, I got a chance to sit down with a digital artist and talk about 3D design and printing in the industry. And Hector has worked on some stonkingly big Kickstarters and projects from the likes of Kingdom Death all the way through to Street Fighter, and he's currently getting ready for Mortal Kombat, the game as well. So if you're interested, you can go across and check out that interview. It was a tightly scripted half hour. Actually, it was more like an hour and a quarter.
I opened this up to edit, and it was like, Jerry.
They let me talk to people. I will talk to people. That is how it goes. Fascinating stuff. Hector's very, very interesting. He does have his own little Patreon as well, which we talk about and have a wee nosy around on the site in the interview, which is worth exploring anyway. So in lieu of a 3D printing this week, I thought we'd give you that instead.
Definitely go and check it out. Really cool stuff.
I will say he's one of the folks. He worked on one of my absolute favorite miniatures, which is the Twilight Knight from Kingdom Death. Gorgeous piece.
Twiglet Knight.
Twilight.
Twiglet, Twilight. You know, it's.
They have said
they come out as a holiday special.
They have said it's a Marmite sculpt.
I like it.
You know,
it's just another reason. It's not just his voice for I need an audiobook. It's words like Twilight to Twiglet that will just improve the book so much more.
I have my own lexicon. People need to apply together. It's available on my own Patreon. If you want to know what I'm talking about week to week.
The book of Jerry.
If Jerry was to do an audiobook, what book would you want him to read?
I want Jerry to read me The Hobbit. I think
I'd second that.
I've already done Stardust for a friend.
Oh, wow. Okay. Look at you.
Leading into the Neil Gaimanism of it all. So
you could read me the old Norse mythology books.
Could. That would require me digging them out. But anyway, apart from talking to Hector, Hector is also in the community, and I believe he's even responded
he has.
below that little video. He's very keen on sharing his 3D digital sculpting skills, there we go, to the wider community. So if people are interested or getting into it or even play about with it at the moment and you have any questions for Hector, feel free to ask away. If there's anything more in depth, feel free to ask as well, because he has said he is not adverse to coming back and having another chat with me in the future. So potentially it could be a semi-regular thing from Hector, as much as I can bother him when he's not working. We will do this thing.
When he's furiously sculpting Mortal Kombat characters for Angry Joe.
Well, we do. There's a couple. I don't know how much has actually been previewed in the wider world, because when we recorded that, he was thinking that it may have gone live this week. Actually, I think the initial idea was it would go live on Tuesday this week. So we have a look at a couple of the Mortal Kombat characters in that interview.
Which you may or may not have seen before then.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb and say not much has been seen, so almost undoubtedly haven't seen those before. And we also debate the fact that if they hit big, I want Johnny Cage not punching Goro as a dynamic. It's a massive stretch goal.
That's scene from the old movie.
I think that's fair.
This is where you fall down. And who knows, we may or may not see that. But
I'm going to have to go rewatch that now.
I wouldn't.
I will, even though I know I shouldn't.
It's not worth your while.
No, however, the second one is worse, though.
Moving away from the realms of the digital and into the realms of the digital, we have our Kickstarters. And first off this week is some Dungeons and Lasers 3rd edition, Ben.
So Archon Studios are back on Kickstarter with Dungeons and Lasers 3rd edition, which is also subtitled Woodhaven. So a lot of people will know we have played around with the Dungeons and Lasers terrain in the past. Highly modular. I've got my own dictionary on Patreon. It can be used to make dungeons and all sorts of different things. We've used it to make huge terrain pieces for 40K. We've made a hero quest board as well using all these pieces, and it was really, really awesome.
Are they doing water?
So, yes, the newest campaign goes to Woodhaven, and now you can use all their modular plastic terrain to make not just the city streets, not just the taverns and the houses and the shops, but also the sewers that sit underneath the city. So you can do everything on those 3 layers if you wanted to play your games. In addition to it coming with all the tiles and the walls and all that kind of thing as well, you also get all of the accessories and stuff that you can see here, depending on which bundles you pick up, of course, that'll allow you to make a very awesome looking dungeon scape for your heroes to run around in. As I say, a lot of this is modular, so you can paint it up as individual pieces and then put it together whenever you like in different formations. You could just glue it all together if you wanted to and just make a big, huge, solid piece of terrain. You can even put things on top of each other, as you saw in that video there. So you could have actually the city streets and then the sewer underneath it. And as a DM, you could be the best person ever, because you could be like, okay, we're going to walk through the city streets, and they'd be like, oh, I wonder what's down that staircase. Lift off the top. Here's the sewer underneath.
That is pretty cool, isn't it?
Very cool indeed. Addition, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say the feel and flavour of it with the especially the city guard there is very Discworld-esque.
Yes, it does have that quality to it a little bit, actually, yeah. In addition to the terrain and the tiles and all the things you see there, they're also going to be doing a set of, I think it was at least 60 miniatures as part of an initial bundle, but that has probably expanded since the Kickstarter began. So you've got all of the NPCs that Jerry was talking about there. So you're going to have your guards, your tavern owners, your shop owners, a couple of interesting heroes and NPCs that you might bump into along the way, maybe a few villains as well. In addition to all of the terrain from this one, so all the buildings and the modular roofs and everything like that, you're also going to be able to pick up all the stuff from last edition's Kickstarter.
Brilliant.
So if you want to pick up all the dungeon stuff, or the cathedrals, or the dwarven mine, and there you go, perfect. Then you can get all of those things added into your pledge on top of it as well. So there is pretty much anything you could ever really want for a dungeon delve at the moment, I think.
I really want to build like a Frostgrave table out of this.
I think like a labyrinthine or labyrinthine sort of Frostgrave table would be absolutely amazing, with lots of twisting passageways, and you put like card or black paper or something on top of it so that you unveil it as you go, like a dungeon as you're skirmishing through.
That'd be great for the black stuff we saw the other week on XLBS.
The infrared blackest cloth in the world ever.
Reveal.
All of these figures are going to be hard plastic as well, aren't they?
Yes, hard plastic, and in I think pretty much every case they're going to be single piece as well. So
nice.
Just bosh them together, ready to go.
Rat folk.
So
there are some amazing characters mixed in.
They really are.
I will also say that you've got all the dungeon tiles, you've got the miniatures that are coming as part of the townsfolk set. You will have also spied some fairly massive monsters, some dragons in there as well. Yep. So I think there's like 5 or 6 dragons for you to choose from. A couple of them that are new, a couple of them are the older ones. So you've got like a big, huge xenomorph style dragon. If you want to play around with it, here are the dragons.
The bows have bowstrings, Jerry. That'll make you happy.
Yeah. But yeah, so these dragons, they are not single piece. You will have to put these together. But yeah, very awesome looking miniatures there, as you can see, that can be used in all your games, towering above everything else on the tabletop, causing all sorts of havoc. I particularly like, I think it's Freya, which is one of the ones or above,
the ice one
with the sort of crackling energy coming from off the side. Yeah,
that's
really cool. And also I think it's the last dragon in this set. If we scroll down a little bit, Jerry, there's one which was like Oregon, which is sort of like a more Far Eastern inspired dragon, which I think is just fantastic.
It's quite nice because it's rare to get a nice, I was going to call it a celestial dragon. Don't know where that's come from, but anyway, yes, an Eastern style dragon.
Titanforge do a celestial dragon. That's probably why.
That may be where it's buried in the back of my mind from. But yeah, because that the sort of whiskered dog face look to it is very distinctive. But often, whenever you see them, they just don't hold up. Whereas that looks absolutely terrific.
Yeah, and as I say, if you're interested in this terrain, you can go back and check out our video where there you go. Well, we built a dungeon in a day, so we did a couple of videos where we put together ones like that, where we just did some really nice work with contrast paints and sprays and that kind of thing, and then we also did our Hero Quest board as well. But I will put links down below if you want to go and check those out. The Hero Quest board one in particular is very nice and should get all you grognards happy, so it's all good.
It's an extensive Kickstarter.
Absolutely.
Yes. As you can see, this is only like 3/4 of the way down the page. So.
And they're smashing through stretch goals like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't know. Oh, they are. They're doing the starter sets, so you can just get the miniatures if you don't want the.
You can do,
the
or you can just grab
buildings.
all the dragons.
Yeah. 7 Dagrons of your choice. Excluding Schmargra.
I was just thinking how I would even say that.
I wouldn't. I find it best not to. I have to say that the figures look terrific. I don't know if they will be one piece.
As we were looking through this, I was wondering actually, I think maybe some of them do have like a multi-part quality to them, in which case, yes. Well, you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments down below. So
I built a set of the hard plastic miniatures they made for Wolfenstein.
Oh, right.
The heroes come on a hard plastic sprue, and they all come with the textured bases, and they're, I say snap fit. They're almost snap fit. Some of them required a bit of glue, in certain places, but
that might be the case then, yeah.
But so it may be that they're multi-part, but not multi-posable.
Yeah,
but they do go together absolutely beautifully.
Yeah, although you have passed one of my favorite sets to do, which is the Animal Companions.
Oh, I know. I did eye those up. I saw a little fox with a knife earlier on when we were looking at it.
Fox with a
Fox with a knife.
We
tell you what,
had those in for unboxing, and they're just so fabulous.
These urban foxes are getting feral, aren't they?
They'll shank you.
Yeah.
Gary the Peacebreaker. A duck on an axe. Huh?
He's definitely not peaceful.
Duck with an axe. It's ridiculous.
Something suspicious going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. So there we are. We currently have not unlocked the sewer story or Love is in the Air dot with an air elemental. And Pepe the Giant is still to come as well. I imagine with the way things are going, they're already 10 times. I'll give everybody motion sickness here as I go right to the top. Yeah, they're already over 10 times their expected sort of pledge level and still accelerating. So with 12 days left to go, the sky's the limit. I think we'll probably hit Pepe the Giant. I'd be surprised if we didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and who knows? Might get the Ghost Dragon.
Yes.
Ghost Dragon.
That does look very cool. He could also be a gross and Ghost Dragon.
Yeah,
Or they could just do a Gross Dragon, do like a Nurgling one.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah.
A few not dissimilar to that.
Yeah.
So who's up next then?
So next up, we've got something a little bit different. So Dave Taylor, who you'll know has worked with people like Mel the Terrain Tutor to bring a bunch of books to the tabletop and for a lot of people. John's even done some work in the past on him on army building and that kind of thing as well. But Dave Taylor's now working with a selection of, a cabal of artists and also individual artists. I said cabal as if they're like a cult, but working together with a bunch of artists to create 3 volumes called The Art Of. So these are working with, the first one of these is from Miniature Monthly, and it works with people like Aaron Lovejoy, Elizabeth Beckley, and Matt DiPietro. And you've also got 2 other books with Christoph Kiel and Anna, and I'm sorry about this, Polanskak, I think, is the pronunciation of her last name. But the idea of these is they're going to be inspirational books that look at the artwork of each of these painters or groups of painters and work as kind of lookbooks that you can then use for your own armies.
Nice.
They're not going to be designed as step-by-step instruction manuals that you might have seen in the past. These are designed to sit alongside maybe the Patreon campaigns that each of these different artists do and the videos that they produce to give you almost like a reference guide as you're going and diving into these different army building projects, character painting projects, busts and all that kind of thing that you're doing. I think this is a really cool idea. There's some really fantastic stuff in there already, I think, from what we've seen from a lot of these people like Miniature Monthly and stuff. So it'll be very cool to see how this comes together. And I could see these being really nice books to not just use as reference, but to have as kind of like your coffee table books. Because I tend to do that with bigger art books, but I'd also like some of these on there as well, so I can flick through and be like, today I want to paint black and learn how to paint Black Templars. I will find such a page. It's like,
some inspiration.
One of Hector's sculpts in that video.
You might well have done.
The purple pinup lady.
Yeah. It's really cool that they're working on these with the artists at the moment. So say 3 volumes to begin with. Much more to come in the future as the series rolls out, I do not doubt. And as things are going, these look really nice, and it'd be nice to dive into them and check them out. So if you've got a favorite artist from the ones that we mentioned just before, then maybe go and check out their individual book or the Miniature Monthly sort of anthology there and dive in and see what it's all about. I think it's a pretty awesome project, personally. So
it's certainly very different as well, where an awful lot of times you get art books where they're attempting to show you how to paint that way, like Angel Heraldez has done a few. And I tend to use those less for actual techniques and how to paint, and more for this style of coffee table book of inspiration where you flick through and go, that's an interesting paint scheme or color scheme. Yeah. That would be interesting on X miniature that I own, or a force built to look like this demon would be very nice for the abyssals and not
that's
the standard
the Hector,
red.
That's the Hector one, I believe.
There you go. Yeah.
That I think possibly that pen up as well.
Yeah.
I will say, like, I think one of the other things to bear in mind with these books is, as I say, they're not really meant to be like step-by-step tutorials.
Yeah.
But they also have, there's like lots of philosophy baked into these. So it's all a kind of like why they paint a certain way, or why this is their approach to a certain color or a scheme or a theme, like Grimdark, for example. So yeah, these are very, very interesting, and I am eager to read some, I think.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's an excellent set of books. And especially whenever you hit a certain artist, you'll find that you can easily identify the work they've done because of the style they have. And it's interesting that they go into the philosophy side of it, their techniques for painting, because there are certain people, I know in the past, Jakob Nielsen, multiple Golden Demon winner, and you could almost pick his stuff out whenever you walked through Golden Demon, because he had a very distinctive style that was repeated whether he was painting 40k or fantasy or Mordheim or chaos. It didn't matter. You could tell it was his work. And likewise, you'll find that with certain artists where they have that sort of through line on the style of painting. And so picking up a book like this and going, well, that's an interesting theme or style that they use. Especially John Blanche is one that comes up an awful lot where people talk about painting in the Blanche style. Yeah,
you see that a lot in the Indie Mag, 28 Mag, is that what it is?
Yeah, Inquisitor 28 or Ink 28.
Where they talk about the Blanchitsu style and that kind of thing. But yeah, very nice inspirational books to go and check out.
Excellent. Adorn a coffee table anywhere, well funded, and 2 weeks left to go.
The final Kickstarter is from me, and personally, one of my personal favourite novels is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. So if you are into Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, this might actually catch your eye. So I quite often think about the mistreatment of Frankenstein monster and how I would have dealt with a mystery. And personally, I wouldn't have had any pitchforks and torches and whatnot. But in this new Kickstarter, my father's work from Renegade Studios, you can become part of your own gruesome story of Victorian events, where players become the mad scientists to create unethical concoctions, carrying on the work through generations of human experimentation. So you won't be going on this board game alone. You will be competing against other mad scientists. So up to 4 players will be able to compete for the work of their predecessors, and the end goal is pretty simple. So although the journey is a whirlwind of life and death and a whole different level, you're going to want to reap in the fame and glory of become the world's greatest scientists, all morals and ethics aside. The game itself is a whole storytelling experience alone. So with the game, you get story, but with a combination of a companion app as well. I know that, like, Jerry, you're just seething right now over the top of it.
Yeah, it's Spain.
You're able to work meticulously in growing your origins, and each decision you make counts, and you can count on your handy dandy app to update the events as you do trigger them as well. So as each decision does have a knock-on effect, the world of Victorian human experimentation is literally at your oyster. So the replayability factor for this is incredibly high. You and your competitors take on adventures every which way with a plethora of opportunities as well. So you make your way through several generations of scientists, so your father to your son to the grandson, by taking each part of a monster relay into your own hands by completing goals and objectives to progress you through the game. So foraging for ingredients, for concoctions and mutations, and then further into the game you get, the more advanced your creations get. So although the mad scientists may be pretty intelligent, it is normal for them to die within a lifetime. They are not invincible. So all of your knowledge will get passed down to the next family member to carry on the hard work to solidify your Gothic legacy. So you will have to pay attention to the actual attention you're getting from the villagers as well, which I find really interesting. So the pitchforks are being sharpened and the torches are getting ready. So you're going to need to consider the ramifications of your actions to avoid any argument of insanity from the townsfolk as well. So I love the map.
One body and everybody gets very artsy.
Done.
You know, that one night you went grave digging and somebody saw you.
I know.
Exactly.
And then everybody's lighting their pitchforks. Lighting their pitchforks, that's a new one. That's a hybrid weapon.
It's a flaming weapon now.
The map, I do love the map in this. The map is ever growing. So the further you progress into the game, the more locations that kind of unlock. Mm-hmm. So you filled with new foraging opportunities, decisions and stories from like each corner of the map. So the campaign has been funded and it's got 6 6 days left at this point. There's still a few stretch goals to go, such as upgrades to components and the miniatures as well. Yes, I did say miniatures. Maybe I've drawn your attention back, Jerry. But it seems like quite an adventure to embark on, and it becoming the monster who creates the monsters. So it's a really cool concept.
I like the fact that you're not just all building monsters. You can decide to, knock out a time machine in your basement. That type of thing.
As it is a worker placement game, it's not as I find a lot of worker placement games can become quite repetitive, but I do find that this one you've got loads of different stuff to do, and I like the further that you go on, the more challenging it gets because more becomes unlocked, and I think that's a really cool concept for a game.
Seems like a really good one. Yeah.
I am seeing one thing that we've maybe missed is the app actually has a continue button. So even if you can't complete your game in a night, there may be a way to save your progress and come back to complete a game.
Yeah, that is nice.
I do like that in games. If some of them do take long, and sometimes it depends on who you're playing with.
I'm very much drawn to the aesthetic of this. I think the way that it looks is really nice. I love the art style and the way that kind of like ring bound map book sort of unfolds as well is really nice.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a rule book. This makes me happy.
Always good to have a rule book as part of a Kickstarter project. I can't think of many Kickstarters that have succeeded at the moment on the platform without one.
No,
you definitely need one. Especially good to see one coming out of Renegade Game Studios as well, who are very good at doing all these and getting them all ready to go on the platform. Yeah. Interesting indeed, and I like that it's got that kind of 2 to 4 player. Not limit, but sort of like the scope for it there. So you can just play it as 2 people, experiencing a little bit more of a story, going a little bit more head to head, or sort of mix things up and go up to 3 and 4 players as well.
I would definitely love to get this one down for a let's play.
Yeah, for sure. It looks really cool. And like you said, with the fact that it's 2 players, I think it would be a calmer journey. But can you imagine doing that against 3 other people? It would be havoc, and it would be quite exciting as well. I love the fact that you can go through this game and do loads of different things each time. And
it's one of the things with board games that if I can't see multiple routes towards the final end goal and that victory condition, then it kind of dampens the experience of the game for me. So I like that this one, as you say, has got all those different ways that you can go in the routes and the roads and stuff as well. So
I am wondering if there's much player interaction between each other, foiling someone else's experiment just so that, they're held up a little bit while you're pushing on.
I would imagine you get a bit of that, especially if it's got a little bit more of a story focus on it. Definitely want to go check out.
Yep, definitely. He's very tempting. Oh, metal coins.
Oh no,
that's always a good thing for me. If someone puts metal coins in a game, it knocks it up like 2 levels for me.
Yeah.
Just saying they've currently got 3 scenarios to play through. I'm just saying if they've any more unlocked or about to be unlocked before the thing ends, because this was not going to be going to retail. So if you want it, you only can get it via Kickstarter.
There you go.
I like the fact that there's a web-based app.
Yes.
Version.
Well, it means it's less likely to become defunct. Less. I didn't say it won't, but just less likely. That's the problem I have with apps, is that they won't hold about forever, and eventually somebody will stop updating it. At that point, if it's baked into your game massively, then that game becomes unplayable, and that's why I don't like apps.
I understand.
I'm very... If I pick up a game, I want to be able to play it, and not play it for a finite amount of time before they get bored updating Adobe Flash or whatever it happens to be, and then it goes away. So I can't see if there's another...
Well, if there's a web-based one as well, it means that if you're someone who doesn't want to have a tablet or your phone next to the table burning its battery, you can just hook up your laptop and let it run.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Because I can imagine that would be really annoying. You're almost at the end of the game, your phone's on 2% power, and it's dead.
No!
It's friendly, apparently, so that's good, because a lot of people have been hiding those things recently, where they're not telling people if they have customs or VAT to pay. No, I can't see anything else there. I imagine there must be, unless that was the end. Yeah, all stretch goals unlocked. Thank you for the support.
They've done it.
So they've done
Incredible.
it. So if you want it, you've got 6 days left to get it.
And everything's
well
been done
funded,
for it,
but
so.
everything is there. So there's no need to worry that you're going to be missing out on any gameplay experience or that something hasn't been unlocked. It's there in its entirety. So, a terrific trio of Kickstarters.
Yeah, very much so.
Well done. You should be allowed to eat this week. Thanks, 35.
You have earned your place.
So that's us, the end of another week's worth of gaming and hobby news. If you are interested in trying to win one of those 5 pairs of books, then don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, share, and send me a $5 in the post.
Bribe.
Mum's the word.
Bribes, yep.
Say nothing. Act casual. We will see Cult of Games members on Sunday for XLBS. So if I do that, there we go. Cult of Games.
Become a cog.
You can come and join us for that. We'll be sitting down and talking about our hobby and yours as well. If you're not a member of the cult, you can get a 30-day trial for free, gratis, cost you nothing. So why not come on over and have a wee tour and see what's going on there.
Join us.
Until Sunday, enjoy your weekend of gaming.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.